Travis with UtvWindowTint.com. Today we're going to show you how to do our pre-cut window tint kit for this Polaris Xpedition. This is the 4-door model. So we are doing ceramic on this machine today. This is at my shop. This is where we cut the kits to send out to you guys. We are actually a window tint business, so we specialize in window tint unlike the other companies. So today we're going to show you how to do an install on this Xpedition. These machines are very easy. As you can see, this machine's pretty dirty. So the first thing we're going to want to do before even unboxing the window tint is we might want to wash this. And if you don't want to wash it, maybe it's cold in your climate, maybe you don't have water, I would at least wipe down the window and the surrounding area. This is going to be your workspace where you work on the tint to do the window tinting. So we want this to be clean. We don't want to spray soapy water and miss some of this dirt into our film, thus wrecking the tint job. So I'm going to show you some of that today. I'm going to give you tricks and tips on these machines, so stay along for the video. All right, so we're a little closer to the machine. The outside of the glass is muddy. This is a used machine. I'm just going to take some aerosol glass cleaner. You could use your water soap mix solution, which we're going to get into in a minute. But I'm just going to kind of clean this general area so we have an ability to work in this space. I'm just going to use a nice microfiber, just mopping up all of this. Want to make sure that I get all the dirt off because we are going to use the outside of the machine as our kind of our workspace. The tint goes on the inside, but you're going to want to peel off of the outside of the machine. It will make more sense in a minute here. So I'm going to get this all wiped down. So there you go. This is all now clean. So we're going to show you how to mix up our soapy water in the next step. And then after that, we'll show you how to know that the film is for this window. So here's my piece of film. I'm just going to eye this up, make sure it's the shape of. And then you have what's called, this is the film, obviously the black. And then you have what's called the liner. The liner should be facing towards you as the installer. And the way you can tell that is you just peel this liner back and I am exposing the sticky side. So the sticky side of the film is what you're going to wet. You don't want to get the sticky side of the film dirty. So you want to make sure that stays clean. Like if you rinse any dirt in here, you spray soapy water and it rinses up in this channel where there's dirt and it runs into your film, that's going to end up in your final tint job. So you want to make sure that stays clean. But I'm just checking to make sure that this fits. On the Xpeditions, they're very easy to tell what window belongs to what. It's a little more difficult on some Can-Am machines. So this is my right window. I've unboxed this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the inside, how to remove the bottom gasket, and then we're going to get on to cleaning the window and then doing our install on this window. All right, let's talk about the soapy water mix. So you're going to want some sort of purified water. If your tap water is good, you can use that. If not, go to the store and get yourself a gallon of tap water for 99 cents. This is baby shampoo. This is the knockoff version of Johnson & Johnson's. So I'm just going to show you today. This is a 32-ounce spray bottle. So we're just going to use purified water. What I would do first is I would fill this up. I'm just going to show you for demonstration purposes. But we're just going to add a little bit, like 2 drops. Now this is going to kind of depend on your climate. I do like, if you're just solely going to use one soap, I would suggest just using this. I find the mix of these helps with your slip solution, allowing you to position the film on the glass better. But if you are just going to use one soap, I would highly suggest just the Dawn. I wouldn't get the knockoff Dawn. It's something about that doesn't slip very well. I tried the Costco version, it doesn't work very well. So I would use actual Dawn. Just a drop, fill it up with water, and that's going to be your soapy mix. If you live in a climate that's hotter, where it's high humidity, maybe you're in Arizona, maybe you're in Texas, you will want to mix up your soapy solution a little bit more, and you'll get a feel for it on your first window. If you don't have enough soap in your solution, you won't be able to move the pattern. If you have too much, as you squeegee, the pattern will actually slip. So there is a fine amount, I would say 2 to 3 drops. Do your first window and then see where you're at. So now what we're going to do on this machine is we're going to show you how to determine what window is what for the machine. Today we're putting 20% carbon on this with 70% on the windshield. All right, so once you're inside, you have this bottom gasket. This bottom gasket comes out fairly easy. I've had to in the past take like a plastic screwdriver or something along those lines to pop this out. But once you get the corner going of it, it actually does come out easy, as I struggle to do this one. So once you get the corner going, they just pop out and then they just lift out. All it is a rubber gasket. That is gonna make removing this will make the install extremely easy. I just set that over here on the floor. And now what I would suggest doing is, again, taking your aerosol glass cleaner and a different towel than we use to wipe the outside. I would just do a general clean of this area. Just wiping it down, making sure it's clean. The inside of this machine is very clean. It's the outside that was kind of dirty. So we're just gonna wipe this down, and then we're gonna prep the window for an install. So what we'll need for that is our soapy water mix and a razor blade. So we're just gonna take a razor blade. This is brand new. They're single edge razor blades. And then we're going to spray the soapy water on the glass. And then we're just gonna razor blade the glass. And if you listen, you can hear for grit. You wanna scrape all that grit off. You don't want that grit trapped between your film and the glass. So we're just gonna do it again. The more times you do this, the better off you're probably gonna be. I'm sticking the razor blade a little bit behind this gasket even to clean out behind there, because the film is gonna go behind there. I'm gonna turn the machine on, or at least to the run position, and then I'm going to roll down this window about that far. Then I'm gonna spray my soapy water on this top edge, and I'm gonna clean this top edge. And in the process of cleaning this top edge, I wanna make sure that there's no dirt on this ridge right here, because if you spray, the dirt could rinse into your film area. That's really gonna give you a clean job. And then again, I'm gonna just razor blade this top half that I already haven't. Okay, so I've razored that. I know some of you are thinking, why are you letting this water run down the side? These machines are made for the outdoors in the mud. If you can wash your baby's hair with it, you could probably let it run down your door panel a little bit. It'll be okay. Just gonna wipe that up. So then we're gonna razor blade it again. Okay, now that this is gonna be fully razor blade again, part of the toolkit, if you guys get it, will be this tool here. I would highly suggest getting the toolkit if you don't have tint tools. You're gonna wet the window again, and then you're gonna take your tool and you're gonna start in the center and you're just gonna work your way out. This is ensuring that any potential contaminants are gonna get rinsed down to the bottom and are on your area of work. So now we're getting ready to install this machine, or this window on the machine. I'm gonna take my film and I'm gonna stick it on the outside of the glass, and I'm gonna use that as my work area. A lot of you guys don't have peel boards, so I'm gonna show you the way I would do it if I didn't have a peel board. So I'm gonna grab the piece of film. I'm on the outside of the machine. We've prepped the window just now. We have our piece of film, the liner's facing towards me. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wet the outside of the machine with the spray, and I'm going to just stick this on the outside of the machine. I'm gonna stick it right about here. And I'm gonna take the pink install card and I'm just gonna lightly tack this to the machine, so that way when I peel the liner, the tint doesn't fold on me. So the reason I'm doing this is because most of you won't have a peel board or a separate piece of glass to peel off of, so you're gonna have to use the machine as your peel board. Now, when you go to spray your soapy water, you don't wanna be rinsing this into your film area. I did it because the liner is still on there to show you, but as I did that, it's gonna rinse and the gravity is gonna pull the dirt into your film. So the inside's scraped and squeegeed, ready to be installed. So I'm gonna show you how I do an install. So on these, we're gonna do what's called a bottom load. So we're gonna actually peel the whole piece of film, this whole liner off. We're gonna wet the whole film, we're gonna carry it inside, we're gonna wet the whole window, and then we're gonna do our install. And I'll kind of show you what that looks like right here. And I'll get you a couple clips of doing that in different angles so you can kind of get a feel for it. So I'm gonna actually open my door. I'm gonna mist my film area, I'm gonna mist my glass, making sure the soapy water covers the whole glass thoroughly. And then I'm gonna come back out here. I'm gonna peel my whole liner, and if you pay attention, I'm only spraying the film. I'm not spraying the area around it because I don't want to rinse the contaminants in. Now I'm gonna grab this piece of film very delicately, and I'm gonna carry it, and I'm gonna use my knee to open the door, or my hip, and then we're gonna drop this in here without touching too much of the surrounds. And that's why it's important to clean your working area, because if the film touches anything that's dirty, it's gonna stick to the glue. So then you're just kind of fishing it down. Because we don't have a bottom gasket in, you're not gonna fight with a gasket. So now that this is in and fished down, the soapy water is helping you move this, and I'm gonna reposition the camera. So now I've got that fished in there, and you can see my top edge looks really good. So I'm gonna take this pink card. Right now with the correct soapy water, I can kind of move this around if need be. I'm actually anchored right where I'm happy, and I'm just gonna squeegee this center out. You may wanna take a mist of your spray bottle and use that as a lubricant. So we're gonna squeegee all this out. And then we're gonna actually roll up the window the rest of the way once we're happy. Boom. And boom. And then what you'll wanna do is just mist it again and take your other install tool, and you'll just kind of wanna squeegee it all out. If you wanna try to get out as much water as humanly possible while doing this. But that's the install. At that point, you can wipe down your door panel, and you can put your bottom gasket back in if you choose to. I leave them out till the install job's done. What I typically do is I'll shut the door, and I'll make sure that I actually got all my bubbles pushed out, and I'm happy with the way it looks. But that is an install on a driver's or a passenger front door on these Xpeditions. So if you look, that's the way it should look. Awesome, I'll show you the rear door in a second here. All right, so we're on the back door. There's a little bit of dirt. So we're gonna we're gonna spray this. I'm using my thumb to wipe this outer edge, and then we're just gonna pop this bottom gasket again. We're gonna work at the corner of the gasket. I'm using just a plastic tool. And I'm just gonna get my finger behind here and lift this gasket out. Wipe any dirt that might set on that ridge. And then we're gonna grab our piece of film that we're using to install on this, and we're gonna make sure we got the right piece of film. All right, so I'm just gonna hold this up to the outside. Yep, this is the right piece of film. And I know that because there's plenty of excess liner, and I'm exposing the film side, which is right there. So I'm gonna set this back off to the side. We're gonna prep the glass, and then we're gonna do an install. So again, we have our single edge razor blade. We're gonna start at the bottom of the window. We're gonna razor blade the glass 2 times, ensuring that we get every inch of the glass. Okay, and then we're gonna roll down the window again about that far, and we're just gonna wipe this top edge because there's a bunch of dirt on here. Just gonna make sure that this edge right here is clean, and then we're gonna spray soapy water on here, and then razor blade this twice. Okay, again, we're gonna squeegee it or razor blade it again. Then we're gonna squeegee it here in a second. So we've already razor bladed the bottom half, so now we're just kind of razor blading the top half. I'm gonna take my squeegee that came in the installation kit, I'm gonna spray soapy water, and I'm just gonna squeegee this out, get behind this gasket. The nice thing about this tool is it reaches behind that side gasket. I'm gonna do this. If your machine's really dirty, I would suggest doing this twice. I'm gonna grab my piece of film and we're gonna put it on the outside of the window. So I'm gonna wet this area, just prepping it to hold the film. And then again, we want liner side towards us. So I'm gonna put that here. I'm gonna anchor it to the machine and I'm gonna anchor it to the glass. I'm gonna open back up my door. I'm gonna spray soapy water down. This is gonna allow you to rinse the dirt from top to bottom, and then it also gives you the lubricant to get the film. I'm gonna peel my liner all the way off. I'm gonna make sure I'm not rinsing any dirt from the machine into the film. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna grab right here, and I'm gonna put my hand on the back, and then I need the door to open. Open up the door. Try to not have the film touch anything besides the glass. And you're just going to basically fish it down below here, and the soapy water will help you guide that. So we're gonna get this positioned. Okay, and now what we wanna do is we wanna check our fitment. We wanna make sure that we're happy with the way the top edge is sitting, and this is where the soapy water will play a role in. Okay, so I'm happy with my gaps on the side. I'm happy with my top edge. I'm gonna take our pinks tool, and I'm gonna use my thumb to anchor the film to the glass, so that way the film can't shift, and I'm gonna use this tool to squeegee out the water. And now that the film's kind of anchored up, it shouldn't shift unless you have too much soap. So I'm gonna squeegee out as much as possible. Mist the film to give it lubricant, and see the film shifted there, so you wanna watch. I got maybe a little too much soap in my solution for my temperature. It's about 32 degrees here in Wisconsin today. And then we're going to roll up the window, and then we're just gonna squeegee out this bottom half. And then we're gonna mist it again. I'm gonna use the other tool, the conquistador, and I'm going to squeegee all this out. I'm gonna get behind the gaskets. And then that is an install on an Xpedition rear door. We'll wipe off all the water. And then you can reinstall the gasket at the end. You'll want to double check your work. So we'll shut the door and we'll just wipe this off, make sure we don't have any soapy water left. But that was a live how-to. It only took probably about 5 minutes to do that door. And that was that easy on these machines. We're gonna show you the other side, and then we're gonna show you the back window. All right, so this has got the lock and ride. This is actually a poly window. We don't sell film for this. There's really no good way to tint poly. Guys have put vinyl on there instead, left it alone. But we're gonna show you how to tint this. So this is a lock and ride. This is actually just it sits in the back window and locks in. And then up here, there's some handles. So we'll go on the inside. And then you just got to turn these handles 90 degrees. And you might want to have a buddy help you. You don't want to drop the glass. But you just do that. And then you will actually come out this way and just remove the glass out of the machine. The easiest way I find to do this is removing the glass out. So it's a little glued in there. Sorry, I'm trying to film and do it. So we'll just lift this out. This window is very dirty. So what we're gonna do is, that's it out. And then here's what I was talking about, the latches, and then the cam locks for the easy ride. So we're gonna wash the outside of this glass. I'll set up the stand and show you guys how to wash that. But this is what the window looks like out. Very easy removal, and we'll go from there. All right, so I got the glass laid out on the bed. This is the side where it latches into the bottom. I haven't done anything with this. It's kind of loose from the factory, but you don't have to necessarily undo these. I like to. I think you get a little bit better job, and they're not that hard to undo. It's a 10 millimeter and then a Phillips. Just basically you unscrew this, when you get it unscrewed, it's just a nylock nut, and then there's the washer on the back side. Set those aside. Again, you're just gonna remove the second one. I think this makes for a better install. I think if I was to do it the other way, you can do it. But basically there's just these protrude into the glass like that. So it's not very hard. I'll set that off to the side. I'll just flip this glass over and I'll do the same on this side here. I leave the 90-degree turnouts on. Those use an Allen and a 10 mil if you do want to take them off. I guess for instructional purposes, we'll take that off on this video. I'll grab an Allen and remove those. So there, I got all that off. I'm just gonna set my hardware on the other side, and then I'm gonna go grab an Allen and I'm gonna hold that backside. All right, so I got the Allen holding the backside, and I'm just got my 10 mil here with the ratchet. Ratchet this off. Once we got that all the way loose, we're actually just going to pull this out. So there'll be a nut in here, a nylock nut. Set this up here to keep it separated. This will look like this. And then this piece actually just pops off. Maybe. Jeez, never actually had one stick in. Okay, well, Polaris did a good job on making that one stick in on the day of assembly on this machine. So as long as that doesn't come out, really shouldn't matter. It's not gonna affect our install at all. I'm gonna do the same on this one. Those aren't glued on, they're just rubber gasketed, so I don't know why that one wouldn't come off, but we're not gonna worry about it. Sometimes they do have two. I've noticed on all the machines I've done, they've had two washers, so just kind of pay attention to that. Actually, this one has two washers also. So I'm gonna set that aside. This one is also very well attached. So what I would do is, now that you got kind of a piece of glass that's bare, you want to, if your machine's really used, there'll be dirt that builds up in these gaskets. Maybe just wash this like you would your car with a wash mitt. This one's not too dirty, it's just the outside. The guy said he rode the machine once or twice, so this isn't too dirty, but I've seen these be really caked up. That will affect your install. So what we're gonna do is we're going to clean the glass, get the film ready, and show you the install on the back window of this machine. So I'm gonna flip it over. We're gonna have to use the outside of this machine as our peel board. Take and mist this and give this a really good wipe down, getting up all the dirt. They might have actually glued these on. On prior years, they did not have those glued on. So, fun fact of the day, Polaris now glues those on. On the earlier model Expeditions, they were not. Not that it makes a big difference, but I'm gonna go grab the film. We're gonna put it on the outside of the glass and I'll show you what to do. All right, so I got my film. You'll just wet the glass. I've already wet the film. So you're just gonna set it on the outside of here in the orientation that's supposed to go. So as you can see, it's notched around to go around the lockout, and it's notched to go around this cam. It's not quite lined up, but it's notched to go around these two. For install at home, we're just going to take and kind of anchor this down. And then we're gonna grab our soapy water spray. And we're just going to quick lift the liner, and we're gonna wet the liner, but not too much. We're just gonna do it like that, boom. And we're gonna set the liner back on it. We're gonna spin this 180. Ideally, you wouldn't do this facing up because as dust settles, it's gonna land in your film. I'm doing this very quick. There's not much air movement in my shop, So we're just gonna do this quick for demonstration purposes. Peel, wet, and then lay your liner back down. So now the glue side has been wet. I'm gonna take and do what's called a reverse roll. So I'm just gonna roll this guy up, go all the way across. So now you just gotta remember my notches are on the bottom. So I'm gonna roll this up. So as I roll this up, this is my liner, and the back side of my film, that's the glue side getting exposed right now. So we just wanna set this in a rag or somewhere clean. We're actually gonna take the window and do this vertically without dropping the glass. So we're going to, I'm gonna reposition the camera so you guys can see this. All right, so I got it set up. You're obviously going to hold on to it. It's a tapered bottom edge, so it leans the one way. So what we're gonna do is, the reason you don't wanna lay this flat is that dust, like I was mentioning before. So I'm just going to scrubby all these. I'm using a blue non-scratch Scotch pad. I would use a new one. I wouldn't use the one from your wife's kitchen sink. It's probably full of food. I'm gonna take a razor blade. I'm gonna razor blade every inch. The blue Scotch pad is not a necessity. It just makes it easier. It makes for a better install. So I'm just gonna razor blade all this stuff down towards the bottom. So again, we just wanna make sure that this is clean. We're gonna get a clean install and that this customer is gonna be happy. The more you clean, the better your install is probably gonna be. So we're gonna push all this to the bottom. And now we're gonna squeegee off our glass, and then we're gonna do the reverse roll. We'll use this squeegee. So we're gonna wet the glass, and then we're just gonna squeegee this out. So we're kind of reaching behind the dot matrix, this black area, squeegeeing out any potential dirt that might be out there. We're gonna hold the window, and we're gonna squeegee this all the way down to the bottom, leaving no soapy water, so we know that there's no dirt or contaminants in there. And then we're going to grab our film. And again, we were talking about the reverse roll. So this is my notch side right here. I'm gonna do this as a wet install or a dry install. So I'm gonna expose my liner. My liner's now on the back side by my hand. And I'm just gonna walk this all the way down. Now the reason I wanna do a dry install is the film's wet, but I don't wanna wet the glass because that might stir up any contaminants. So now I'm just gonna walk this all the way down to the floor, and then we're just gonna get it positioned where it's happy, where it looks happy around those cutouts. And then we're just gonna mist our film, check for light gaps on the tops and the bottoms, and then we're just gonna squeegee this out. So what I was saying is, you want to sometimes too much water will introduce dirt, and then you'll see a bunch of dirt in your film because you've actually sprayed and rinsed out of here or rinsed out of here. So I found that the best way to do these windows is a dry install, like I just did. I wet only the film, and then there is just enough slip to do that. So that's this. Before I reassemble it, what I'll actually do is I'll let it dry for a little bit, and maybe out in the sun, if you guys don't have the warm weather, I'll just let it sit overnight and then reassemble your hinges and all that stuff. I like to pour this out because there's water, and then just set it here to dry. So that's the back window. We'll move on to the windshield, show you that. All right, so I got it set up. You're obviously going to hold on to it. It's a tapered bottom edge, so it leans the one way. So what we're gonna do is, the reason you don't wanna lay this flat is that dust, like I was mentioning before. So I'm just going to scrubby all these. I'm using a blue non-scratch Scotch pad. I would use a new one. I wouldn't use the one from your wife's kitchen sink. It's probably full of food. I'm gonna take a razor blade. I'm gonna razor blade every inch. The blue Scotch pad is not a necessity. It just makes it easier. It makes for a better install. So I'm just gonna razor blade all this stuff down towards the bottom. So again, we just wanna make sure that this is clean. We're gonna get a clean install and that this customer is gonna be happy. The more you clean, the better your install is probably gonna be. So we're gonna push all this to the bottom. And now we're gonna squeegee off our glass, and then we're gonna do the reverse roll. We'll use this squeegee. So we're gonna wet the glass, and then we're just gonna squeegee this out. So we're kind of reaching behind the dot matrix, this black area, squeegeeing out any potential dirt that might be out there. We're gonna hold the window, and we're gonna squeegee this all the way down to the bottom, leaving no soapy water, so we know that there's no dirt or contaminants in there. And then we're going to grab our film. And again, we were talking about the reverse roll. So this is my notch side right here. I'm gonna do this as a wet install or a dry install. So I'm gonna expose my liner. My liner's now on the back side by my hand. And I'm just gonna walk this all the way down. Now the reason I wanna do a dry install is the film's wet, but I don't wanna wet the glass because that might stir up any contaminants. So now I'm just gonna walk this all the way down to the floor. And then we're just gonna get it positioned where it's happy, where it looks happy around those cutouts. And then we're just gonna mist our film, check for light gaps on the tops and the bottoms, and then we're just gonna squeegee this out. So what I was saying is you want to sometimes too much water will introduce dirt, and then you'll see a bunch of dirt in your film because you've actually sprayed and rinsed out of here or rinsed out of here. So I found that the best way to do these windows is a dry install like I just did. I wet only the film, and then there is just enough slip to do that. So that's this. Before I reassemble it, what I'll actually do is I'll let it dry for a little bit, and maybe out in the sun, if you guys don't have the warm weather, I'll just let it sit overnight and then reassemble your hinges and all that stuff. I like to pour this out because there's water. And then just set it here to dry. So that's the back window. We'll move on to the windshield. Show you that.